Hey traders, happy 4th of July to everyone. Today's video, guys, I'm going to be just going over all the markets, just in general. I'll be looking at the bond market as well too, the interest rates like TMF. I know there's a few people that are interested TMF, TLT, gold, silver, oil, the Russell, the Nasdaq, obviously the indices as well too. So maybe look at some stocks, some Bitcoins. I'll be looking at sort of a wide range of markets out there, because I believe that within all these markets that I've just mentioned, and possibly some more that I'm probably going to bring up, there are different sectors out there that I believe that are getting ready for a good pullback, and there's different sectors out there that I believe are getting ready for what could be called like a slingshot move. And once it gets started, it's going to be quite big. And so I want to get you guys prepared for either side and what's likely to come. So let's get straight into it. Don't place a trade based on what you'll see in this video, because there is no guarantees of making a profit in the market. It takes you a long time to become a good trader. So this video here is just to educate you to become a much better trader. Alrighty traders, so let's get straight into it. Let's actually start off. I want to start off with one thing here, okay? So let's actually start off with the fear and greed index. So this is the fear and greed index here. And as we know, if we're smart and intelligent about our decisions moving forward, we know that when people have been greedy, it's time to get fearful, okay? The unfortunate thing is that it's not the next day. It's a general gauge of, okay, then people are really extremely greedy right now, so possibly over the next week or so, maybe longer, maybe sooner, we just never know. But it's time to be cautious when the fear and greed reading is starting to alert us, or starting to get to the extreme greed, right? It's giving us a warning signal that we're getting to the point where we're likely to get some form of a pullback or some sort of a correction at the market that's likely to bring this down to fear or even extreme fear again before we continue the upward move, right? So the extreme greed reading, remember, this is short-term swings in the markets. So it's not a matter of this is going to be a complete meltdown, and a big crash that comes from here, right? That's not what the fear and greed index is. The fear and greed index is more like short-term swings, right? So a lot of the indices have been making some good moves to the upside over the last couple of months, especially the Nasdaq, right? So therefore we've been going up for quite some time. So therefore we're getting to the extreme greed with this move up. As the market starts to have that pullback, right, then we start to get the fear and greed index, the extreme greed reading will then start to go down to the extreme fear, which is just the pullback. And then we start the cycle up again, right? Which if you look at it from a trend analysis perspective, right, we can see that we do this. The market goes up, right? And as we go up, we end up getting down, we end up getting to the extreme greed, right? We have a bit of a pullback. This extreme greed goes down to fear or even extreme fear, right? So this point right here is this point right here. And then we start to pick back up again, right? And then suddenly what happens is the extreme fear goes back to the extreme greed, right? And that's up here as well too, and so on and so forth, right? So I just want to give you guys that there is, I think there are some people out there that I think that are not really just, they're focusing on, well, tomorrow the market's going to go down tomorrow, which we never know exactly what's going to happen tomorrow, do we, right? But on an overall basis, we can start to see where we're at on an overall basis, especially with the markets, to see what is coming up, right? So we're still getting the extreme greed. In fact, if I look at the timeline over the last 12 months, this here was 82 on the extreme greed. And then we had what? And then the market started, then we had a nice big correction in the markets, right? And then the market started, and then this extreme greed reading started to pick back up again, right? So we actually got to 83 towards the end of June, which is the extreme greed, and now we're backing off again. So what is likely to happen with this fear and greed index? Okay, what is likely to happen? We're likely to eventually come back down to here, aren't we? We're likely to get another big pullback like we have here, 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 right? It's just the nature of the swings, okay? So when looking at that, we can now preface that by looking at the actual market itself, and we can see that that by looking at the Nasdaq, this is the Nasdaq futures here. The Nasdaq futures has had a move down and a move back up to the upside. This is probably going to be the last port of call, or the last sort of maybe push. If we do continue to get a push to the upside, which I believe we're going to, I was wrong about this pullback. I believe I was thinking anyway that this pullback here is just going to have a nice good pullback through here and then away we go, right? That's all I was after. But it looks like to me now we're going to have we've dropped down, we've actually pushed to the upside, and now it's getting everyone excited again. We're probably likely to get another push to the upside from here. And as you can see, that whole sort of 15,500 area to me is indeed a whole area of resistance. So I do believe that we're possibly likely to get one more last push. Again, I really thought we're going to get this here. We haven't. I believe we're likely to get this here. One more last push to the upside. That's going to be the end of that type of move. So this is the end of trend. Okay. And then the big pullback comes from there. Okay. So sort of like, see over here, see how we went up, 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 up. We had a big up, 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 and then we had the good pullback, right? So see this pattern here. I believe we're likely to get that pattern right here on the Nasdaq. So maybe just a little bit more upside, or maybe it's just going to create a double top. But more than likely, it's going to push to the upside one more time, get people extra long again, right? And then it's like, oh, here we go, right? And the fear and greed index is going to be pinging its little titty off, right? It's like, it's going to be going crazy. So that's the Nasdaq there. Let's go look at the S&P 500. So the S&P 500, as you can see, probably going to do something really similar as well too, right? So we have this area through here. It's probably that area through there. And if I create another trend line, we've probably got something going on through, say, there as well too, okay? So this whole area through here that we're looking at, sort of the 4,550 up to 4,600, that's probably going to be a lot of areas of resistance in the markets that we're probably likely to see this move up, right? So we're possibly going to get one more last little push to the upside, I would say, through here. And then maybe we get a pullback down to here, or maybe even down to here, right? Especially when we start looking at Fibonacci levels. So again, the market loves to do this, especially at the end of moves, right? So we get one more last little push and then away we go. So if we have a look at that right now, from there to there, or possibly even if we did get up to there, right, we can see how a 50% pullback would get us down to there and then maybe down to there. So once again, guys, it does look like that we're likely to get a bit more of a push initially coming into the rest of this week, but possibly next week. Again, I was wrong when it comes to the actual pullback. Because again, this pullback here, I was expecting to see a bit more of a pullback and then a continuation. The pullback as much didn't happen. Again, we're rallying. So this is now what the market is telling me moving forward from there. If I go look at the YM, then the Dow Jones to me is starting to compress to the upside, low, high, low, high, low. So the Dow Jones is actually looking quite good, right? Starting to look quite bullish right now. We're starting to really pressure to the upside from here. If we take everything off the screen, you can see it's really starting to press up. So it's really interesting, isn't it, traders? Like we can see all through all of the wars and the interest rates and the bank collapsing and all that sort of stuff. The Dow Jones is what? The Dow Jones is just literally 6-7% away from its all-time highs. It's pretty incredible, isn't it, when you think about it? That's the reason why we trade the charts, don't we? So that's a bit of an update across the overall markets from there, from a Nasdaq, ES, and Dow perspective. So if we start to take a look at the fear and greed index like we did, and we start to see what's happening, especially on a lot of the indices that have already made big moves, which is the ES and especially the Nasdaq 100, we now know what we could possibly expect, okay? Because we do know, right? We do know that markets don't just go straight up. You've probably heard me talk about this before, right? Markets don't just go straight up and continue up, right? We eventually get what? We eventually get a good pullback. Or what can happen is that we go straight up, little pullback, one last flying hooray, and then we get the pullback, right? This here is what's called a bit of a suck-in rally from here to here, okay? So that's what I'm looking at there from that there. And if we have a look, again, guys, if we have a look at the VIX here, the overall VIX itself is indeed still giving us a warning sign that something's coming possibly through the whole of July, right? Something's coming through the whole of July. Now, what I mean by that, what I mean by something's coming through the whole of July, is we can actually see here, right? We actually can see that, there we go, cool, right? We actually can see that the VIX is still down at ultra low levels. What does that mean? There's no fear in the markets, right? Hence by the fear and greed index, right? So once again, traders, this here is probably, we're going to get probably a bit more of a push to the downside here as we maybe get another little push to the upside through the rest of this week. But I do expect to see after this week, then we're probably likely to start to see everything start to have a really good pullback in the markets from there. So that's what I'm seeing from that overall perspective. Again, guys, this is not my opinion. This is factual evidence of when they're looking at the fear and greed index and also looking at the VIX to see, okay, what is happening right now? And what's happening right now is there's very big warning signs that say, okay, we're going to expect some form of a pullback soon or some sort of a correction in the markets. We just don't know when. Now looking at what the actual markets are telling us, again, like the Nasdaq, we can actually see we've gone up, 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 down, down, down. We'll probably expect one last little push, and then we're likely to see some movement on the downside. So that's what I'm seeing from that perspective there. Now let's actually flip it on its head here. Okay. I'm expecting to see the markets pull back because, again, foundations of how markets work is what? Once again, how markets work on a foundational basis is up, and then again, we may get one last little push and then we get a really good correction, okay? So that's probably what's likely to happen. And then we start to get the overall warning signs, which is the fear and greed index, and the VIX is still at ultra low levels. As the market starts to pull back, the VIX will start to spike. There's these warning signs that are massive warning signs are still screaming at us right now. And that's where, like, even if I've been wrong on the timing of that pullback, we know we're going to get a pullback, okay? It's just how markets work. And if you say the market's never going to pull back, then what planet do you look? What planet are you on? Anyway, so that's what I'm looking at from that perspective there, right? I'm looking at of the markets there. Now let's actually flip it on its head now. Let's actually go look at gold, silver, and the mining sector. So we'll look at gold, okay? And if we have a look at gold, we can actually see, let's go look at the weekly chart here. With gold, we really are compressing up into a beautiful, beautiful channel, and we've been making these beautiful low, higher low. I'm expecting to see another higher low here on this weekly chart. And I'm expecting to see something like this, maybe rally out, maybe a little bit of a pause, and then we're going to have a really big move to the upside coming out of gold. So that's so one market, good pullback, not a correction, not a big correction, okay? Because I must make one thing clear here too, guys, that I'm not expecting a really big correction in the stock market, because if you actually watch my trailer video, right? So my actual trailer video, you would know that, let me just show you this here, right? So you would know that this one right here, right, this video here, I did a month ago, okay? I did a month ago when the S&P 500 and the Nasdaq were down here, right? So a month ago, and let me just do this for you here. Let me just bring this up to here. Let me show this here, right? So you can see here, when was this? When was the exact date? The exact date was May the 16th. So May the 16th, I actually did end of year targets, S&P 500 all-time highs coming, gold, 2,500 target, big breakout coming, okay? So I did this video here, a while ago, right? By the way, who loves Tupac? You like Tupac? So And as you can see here, so the Nasdaq at that time was around, what's that, around the 12,000 level. This is the Nasdaq chart here. So Nasdaq was at 12,000. Where's the Nasdaq right now as of doing this video? The Nasdaq is at, what's that there? So Nasdaq was around 12,000. Now it's at getting close to six. Now it's 15,300, right? So that was where the Nasdaq was at the time. And then also the S&P 500. So I'm moving over here. So the S&P 500 was at around 4,100. So 4,100 the S&P was. And again, you can see I did this video here. And then if I go over to here, so now the S&P 500, 4,100, as you can see. Now the S&P 500 is almost at 4,500. So 4,100 was down here. And now we've actually made a really nice move up to the upside. And so 4,000. So I've got both of those right so far to the upside. But as I said, I expect to see all-time highs actually coming out of the markets here, right? So you can see here that I'm actually drawing this little triangle pattern here. I said I was expecting to see, let's actually see if I draw it on here. No, I don't. Yeah, and now this is actually gold here as well too. So this is gold. And so the purpose of me bringing up that trailer video there, which I have on my YouTube, is because if I go back to gold now, I'm expecting to see, so I've gotten ES right overall, okay? So the overall pattern on the ES, I've got that right overall. And so therefore, again, I'm still expecting a pullback and then a race to all-time new highs by the end of the year. I did that on the trailer video there, okay? So as we're experiencing this pullback, again, I'm expecting to see gold have a big breakout. Now, gold can break out. Probably a thing out there, right, is gold's not going to go up if the stock market's going up. What's likely to happen is gold's going to break out and go for a really big move, like a really good move to the upside, because it's going to give us that warning sign that there's going to be some sort of a correction. So I'm expecting something like this, right? I'm expecting gold to do something like this, like a big breakout to 2,500, maybe even higher, maybe even higher, who knows? And then as we get the correction, right, as we start to go into recession next year, which we are going to go into recession next year, it's coming, like it's baked in the cake, okay? Now, it doesn't mean the recession is going to be bad, right? It's not going to be a bad recession. And by the way, guys, when the word the word recession sounds bad, right? It's like, oh my goodness, it's such a bad thing. Oh my goodness, the unemployment rate is at 5%. That means 95% of people are still employed. So it's not, the yin and the yang, right? So as the market does start to pull back overall into the correction phase, which I don't believe is coming now, then then gold would have already made a big move. Then gold would probably have a big pullback as well, just like it does. So if we go back, look at the 08 period, right? So you'll see, and the purpose of me saying this is look at this here, right? So look what actually happened here. So in 07. Right, in 07, 08, look what actually happened. Gold did what? So gold did nothing through a good part of 06 into 07. This is actually really similar to now, right? Really, really, really similar to what's actually happened now. And then look what happened with gold. Gold had a big move up. Now, again, this is a weekly chart. So this here is from August all the way up through to March. So what is that? August through to March. It's, what's that I could say? August, September, October, November, December, January, February, March, right? So a good 5, 6, 7 months of upward movement within, say, a month of going sideways here, that gold went up. But then look what happened. Gold actually started to go down, didn't it? The gold actually started to go down as we started to go into the recession through 08. So that's what I'm expecting here. I'm expecting to see the stock market rally, and I'm expecting gold to rally, because gold is going to be that precursor to say this is what's coming up. So right now, looking at gold, I believe gold is one of those sort of levels there that we're likely to start to see gold hold here. So this is now the daily charts, okay? Squeezing up here for the daily charts. I believe gold is now just slow. Look at this here. Look how slow this is, right? We're not getting a lot of strong sellers at this point in time. See how just slow that is? If it was strong, we would have actually did something like that. See how that's strong there, right? Something like that. But look how slow this is coming down. That tells me we're about to get something like that coming out of gold. Make sense? So that's the reason why I'm looking at gold through there. So they're possibly also looking at the silver market as well too. So have a look at the weekly charts here. Let's go look at silver for the weekly chart perspective. And I am expecting silver to start to make a really big move. Now, the really interesting thing about silver is silver has been doing really nothing since the start of since this big move to the upside, right? Since 2020. By the way, guys, if silver did this in 2020, guess what's coming in 2026 and 2027? That times 10, because the inflation is just going to be crazy. Anyway, so by looking at that, right, by looking at this here, low, high, low, high, low, and a pullback, I am expecting to see silver start to make some really big moves to the upside. Now, if we have a look at silver from my big picture perspective, and let me just auto scale this, we can see where silver is right now, right? So silver is what? Just still in this overall sideways range through here, right? And we do actually, if I actually bring up some levels of support and resistance, I can see that that was a major level through there, possibly even a bit higher, but through there and even through there, right? You can see that that's what happened. Look what happened here. Came up, came down, came up, came down, and now we're just holding through here. So once silver starts to really break out, and I wonder if, well, look at that through there, right? So that's actually silver right now from there to there. And I wonder if there's actually something else going on from here to here, right? So that's that sort of bit of a triangle pattern forming, isn't it, right? A bit of a triangle pattern forming on a really, this is a weekly chart looking at silver and this here. So that tells me now, by looking at this level, this overall big long-term level here, and it's starting to compress up, squeeze up, squeeze up, squeeze up. That tells me that if we do start to see this probably level through here, right? That level through there looks like this is a whole major level through there. So that's around the $26 mark. I believe if silver does hold here, right, on an overall basis, and this is a weekly chart, and we start to get breaking above $26, then I believe silver is getting ready to have like something like this, like a big move. At least once it actually breaks that level, then I can actually see, if I'm actually bringing up some support and resistance signs on silver, I can actually see, in fact, look at that point through there, right? So that's actually definitely an area of where it actually had a lot of support and resistance. Once it actually breaks that level, I believe silver's going to make a really, really big move pretty quickly. So we could actually see silver at least back up to that level through there, which from that there to that there is what, about 60% move out of silver. And that's probably likely to happen as well too, as gold is starting to break out and make that big move, and so on and so forth, right? So this is the silver market here once again. And then if we go have a look at gold as well too, if gold did a 60% move, where would gold be? So that looks like silver. If silver did a 60% move, right, that's 30%. We could actually even possibly even make a 3,000 run, couldn't we? Right, we could even see a 3. Now again, this here is just the target, by the way, guys. This is just what's called a channel projected target, meaning if I measure from the high of the channel to the low of the channel, and I just measure it, and then I project it the exact same, that's where that target is from there. So that's sort of a minimum basis. Doesn't mean it's going to stop there. What tends to happen a lot of the times is that it'll rally up, it'll pull back for a little bit, and then it'll go for another move again. So we can possibly even be seeing a 3,000 target on what's the word for it? On gold through there. So that's what I'm seeing through there, guys. If we start to look down through the gold sector here, my baby in a sense has always been the GDX. And why aren't you loading? Why is the GDXJ? Let's go all. Oh, there we go. Cool. All right. So let's actually delete all the drawings, right? If I look at the GDXJ and I scale it, I'm still seeing this overall compressing type of pattern through here. So Once again, the same for the GDXJ. It does look like, yeah, definitely that whole area from there, possibly even up through there somewhere. So once it does look like that through there. If I bring up like a bit of a ray trend line, let's actually see if there's anything going on from there to there. No, nothing from there to there, but there, it looks like there's something from there to there. Like so it does look like to me possibly that level there, and we definitely have something going on up through there as well too. So yeah, the GDXJ right now, guys, once the GDXJ starts to pick back up and starts to get really above the $50 level, then I believe the GDXJ is going to really start to make a really big move. By the way, guys, my long-term investments, I'm long the GDXJ because I believe by 2030 we're going to see an all-time high coming out of the GDXJ. So the metals and miners, guys, are the place to be for me. And then I go look at the actual GDX as well. Let's go and remove all the drawings from here, and then I'm going to bring up. First thing, I'm going to bring up the ray. So this is the ray. I'm just trying to see if there's anything, and look at that there. Beautiful, right? What does that tell you? That tells me once we actually start to get to around about the $40 level on the GDX, then we should start to really see this thing start to make some good moves to the upside. Also, let's go have a look at more of a support and resistance signs. And once again, you can actually see, especially through there somewhere, you can see where it's actually finding a lot of support. So if the GDX does start to hold and start to rally up and we start to break out, then this could be ready. This could be getting ready for a really big move to the upside, looking at that through there. So there's an overall wrap there, guys, from what's actually happening from there to there. Let's go look at some of the interest rate markets, and we can see what's going on there. Let's go look at the 30-year. Now the 30-year, if I look at the weekly charts here, guys, the 30-year is sort of just compressing and holding through here. Not really much going on. Whenever the market does this in general, in any market, it tends to tell you that we're about to see some sort of a move coming in the markets. The interesting thing is, like, let's now go look at the 10-year as well. Right, the 10-year is sort of just holding around here as well too, guys. As you can see, the 10-year is not really doing much. In fact, the 10-year is actually starting to slowly make a lower high. This also could be another lower high before we start to see a bit of a pullback in the markets. Now, once we break that level there, then we could start to possibly see a move down to 2.6, maybe even 2.5 from there, from that perspective there. Now, an interesting chart to show you is, let's actually bring on the Fed. Let's bring on the Fed's rate. All right, the Fed's funds rate. And then now what I want to do is I want to add a chart, and I want to add this chart here. Okay. So as you can see what I've done here, and yes, so that's what I want to do, right? So let's actually see. Trying to. All right, so that's what I wanted to do. I just wanted to sort of measure it so it's actually looking at the levels properly here. Okay, so as you can see, ever since basically back since 1990, right? We can see that ever since when the 2-year starts to get below the 2-year is the orange, and obviously the Fed is in control of the blue, right? So this tells me that we're now starting to pause a little bit when it comes to this. As you can see, that's when things changed. As the 2-year got below here, got below the Fed's rate, that's when things changed, right? Look at this here. Got below it, right? It got below it and stayed there for a bit. The Fed actually paused, and then we had the pullback. Same thing here. The 2-year got below the Fed, or the Fed's fund rate, and then that's when the Fed actually paused and started the cut. Look what's actually happening here. So there's obviously talk about some more interest rates coming. If there is, there's probably not going to be much. We're getting towards the end of this rate hike cycle. In fact, I think we're pretty close there now. So if we do continue up, we're probably going to continue up maybe one or two more times. and then we're likely to start to see this thing start to go sideways and start to reverse from there. So let's go have a look at the good old cryptocurrencies right now. Some of the cryptocurrencies. This is a lot of the tech stocks here, guys. Once again, they're going to sort of go inside of what's going to happen with the Nasdaq there. If I go look at, say, let's go look at Bitcoin right now, and we can take this one off. So Bitcoin has actually had, this is the Bitcoin monthly. Let's go to the Bitcoin weekly. Right, so Bitcoin weekly has indeed started to really sort of push up towards this level through here. Now, if we have a look at the daily charts, we can see that we actually had this sort of slow grind, and this is sort of really similar. This looks really similar to the gold chart right now. So the gold chart is what? The gold chart had a nice move up. Actually, you know what? In fact, there's what Bitcoin has done. This first bit here is what? That looks like probably what's coming up with the indices, ES and Nasdaq, where we have a move, slow push up, and then we get the pullback, right? Then look at this bit here. As we've got the pullback, this bit through here, this is where gold is right now. So I believe this is what's coming out of gold, coming real soon. So that's what I'm seeing from there, from Bitcoin. Again, Bitcoin's really sort of just hovering around that level there. We can see that level through there. The big thing that we're seeing here with the cryptocurrencies is I believe if I bring up my 52 moving average, yeah, we're not there yet. So it looks like the cryptocurrencies and the Bitcoin and stuff like that, or it looks like Bitcoin anyway, it looks like we actually could start to get a nice sort of sideways movement from here. So a bit more of a sideways movement, let the moving average start to catch up. And then we're possibly going to start to see possibly a really nice move happening with the cryptocurrencies. So there we go, traders. Hope that really helped you out. Have a great day, and I'll see you in the next video.